Today, we're talking about sales, how to effectively sell accounting services. I'm super excited. We've got two special guests on today. We've got Marie Phillips from Connected Accounting and Dan Gertrudes from GrowthLab. Here's a bit of an agenda. We're going to kind of talk about some different aspects of the sales process and what that looks like for Marie and Dan, how they actually effectively sell accounting services.
I would say 99% of our leads come from direct referrals. And because we don't offer tax work, we get a lot of clients from tax CPAs. I'm a CPA myself, but I only focus on the accounting side. So my background was in audit. So it's, we get so many like tax firms, like, we don't want to deal with the ugly, like messy financials right before we file the tax returns. So they send us the clients for bookkeeping. And we have a few clients that sometimes comes through the Zero partner website, the Ignition, like we have like somebody at Ignition might call us and be like, hey, we have maybe a potential client that needs help because they speak French or whatever, something very specific to us. And yeah, that would be like, everything is referral right now. We don't really do marketing.
I would say with us, probably about 5 years ago, we started what we internally refer to as our unintentional marketing journey. And we knew about 6 years ago, we had to transition from a referral heavy lead gen, especially as we started getting into the tax side and more tax strategies. At that point, we pretty much stopped receiving leads from CPAs. And had to sort of take control of our own destiny. Today, we're very much, we mimic a SaaS RevOps approach to sales discipline. And on the front end, in terms of lead gen, it's three avenues. One, inbound marketing. We have about 3,000 organic visitors to our website on a monthly basis. Second is part of our RevOps team. We have sales SDRs, right? We have an SDR and we have a RevOps manager, and we put together outbound email campaigns, cold email campaigns, which are probably generate about 60 to 70% of our sales lead gen strategy. And then the last piece is advertising. We do some search engine advertising and some LinkedIn and Facebook retargeting strategies. If you're just going to dabble in it, it's just not worth it. You need momentum and you need scale. You need consistency. Otherwise, it becomes fruitless, whether it's podcasts, videos, posting. It's got to be consistent. So
yeah, and I would even go like further. I feel like not only consistent, but there has to be a strategy behind it, not just the idea of posting. I really like put the brakes on our marketing, I think, in year 2, because why spend even like not that much? I think we're spending like $1,000 a month at the time on an outsourced like agency, but it was still like random content. We didn't know why we needed it. We didn't know what we wanted to do with it. I love like what you're saying, like you know how to measure it. Like earlier you were like 60 to 70%, of those emails that go out, the cold, like call emails, like return a client, like, etc. So I find that that's why we have been so slow to invest in this, because we have too much business. We already have a hard time. Like we always have a waiting list for new clients, and adding an entire marketing spend behind it, we can't support the business that would be coming in. So I do think you have to like strategically think about, what does it look like? How much are you going to spend? Like spending $200, if you don't really know it, it's not even worth it. So I would say like, it's really about like what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, marketing has to be intentional.
anyone who sends an intro, 90% of the time is an email, sometimes a phone call. We start by sending them an email saying, hey, we're excited. Here's like a 5-question questionnaire. Can you just, fill it out to make sure we don't want to waste your time? And by the way, here it is like snippets about connected accounting. These are the services we provide. We don't provide tax returns because a lot of the times you end up on a phone call. You're like, okay, great. We work with QuickBooks and Xero. Our fees start at X dollar amount, like just to manage expectations. And that saved me a lot of time instead of popping up on a call and then all of a sudden they're like, no, we're on desktop and we never want to switch. So which we're not going to service you. So that's been a time saver. And from there, we schedule a discovery call. It's me and a lot of the time our operations manager hops on as well because she ends up being the one managing the onboarding, taking notes, preparing our 3-tier proposal in Ignition after the call. So that's usually an hour, and we go through all of our questions. We really try to understand who they are, their needs, etc. And coming out of there, we shouldn't have that many, unknowns. We prepare at the end of that call. Before we hang up, we schedule a follow-up call to present to them the 3-tier options. That's usually like a 10-15 minute call max. And then, we try to schedule it for about 48 to 72 hours after. It is multiple steps. It is like time consuming even for the prospect, but we do find that when we do it and we do it this way, and often we ask also for access to QuickBooks or Xero, when we do it this way, we get better results, we service them better, and we are also able to really gauge what they need instead of what they want, which is not always the same.
Again, it's all about process and discipline. So we have our sales pipeline. It starts with marketing qualified leads. And then once that lead comes in, our SDR jumps on either email, tries to call that lead, and then does a 15-minute vetting call during that process. If it's still thumbs up, then they move over to a sales qualified lead where we get access to their Xero account or their QBO account or their NetSuite account. And then once that's completed, then I actually jump in. I still touch a lot of the customers that come in. It's something that I actually enjoy. I do a Loom video of about anywhere between 6 and 12-minute Loom video on sort of a triage of or a discovery of their general ledger. And during that Loom video, I kind of discuss some of the cleanup, things that need to get done, and then what a monthly recurring accounting services would look like. And then from there, we send out a HubSpot proposal, and we leave the proposals in HubSpot, even though we're talking about Ignition, and I'll get to that in a second. So we send it out, and then once that happens and the customer says yes, then it goes over to prepare engagement agreement. It goes into Ignition, and then from there, then we use the Ignition Carbon functionality to create a customer success piece of work in Carbon. So I say it's always 80% standard and 20% customizable or customized. On the FP&A side, it is it's standard, right? You build out a business model. We're partners with Giraffe, and then it's a finance call and an ops call, every other week, twice a month. And we've got standard reports. And then 20% of that is going to be non-standard reports and non-standard dashboards that we just built on right at the onset. The same thing with the accounting. I think what's important is for us, we are very industry agnostic. We don't have a niche. What's important for us is the tech stack. So we're also general ledger agnostic, but what's important to us are the systems, the applications in the ecosystem that the customer is using. So if you are an e-commerce shop and you're using some antiquated system, then we're not going to touch you. If you're on Shopify using Stripe, et cetera, right? For us, that's what's important. And in terms of pricing, the FP&A side, The baseline is pretty standard because it's a very templated approach. And then the add-on is really the additional value in CFO services beyond what the financial analysts and the FP&A team can provide. And on the accounting side, it really comes down to two things. I always say it's the complexity of the business and the volume of transactions. And that's what's going to drive the price as long as you're within our tech stack. I don't know, Marie, if that kind of resonates with your style.
Yeah, 100%. The exact same words: the complexity, volume, the type of apps. And then after that, it's just like a puzzle. Like, which piece of the puzzle do you want? Do you want bill.com, bill pay? Do you want, or if with Shopify, do you want to leave it on a cash basis, or do you want A2X with, whatever? It just depends on like which items they care for, like bill pay, invoicing their customers, payroll, HR services, etc. So it just depends. And then the last, I think, piece is how much of our time do they require? So by that, I mean, like, some of them did never want to talk to us. So we don't sell or add to their proposal any kind of meetings or like calls. And then some we specifically say how many meetings a month or how many calls because they can quickly abuse it. So it's just a matter of, and I think the one thing where we have leeway in our pricing a little bit is if you really don't want to pay a lot, or you want our smallest out of the 3 tiers, you want the entry level tier, then your financials tend to be due on the 30th. So we push you to the end of the month. I used to do them in Word document before I used Ignition, and try to do back of the napkin math in Excel and try to bundle it all together. And it took forever. It took like 2 hours because then you had to like customize the pricing every time, etc. Now with Ignition, you have a list of services that, the list of services we sell. We have for each service, kind of like what's the range, the pricing range. And it's like drag and drop kind of thing, right? Like where you select out of a checklist the different services you want, they populate. We have our old Word format that has been uploaded in Ignition. It autofills client names, etc. The bucket of services we're offering them. It even shows them which services are going to be recurring, which ones are just a one-time, if it's a deposit, a final pay, etc. And what's really cool is instead of having like a 14-page Word document that's long and annoying to read, it's just, hey, customer, great to meet you. Hey, here's like your proposal with the checklist of services you would like to have. Here's the pricing. It's going to be recurring on the 1st of every month. And by the way, here's like all of our legal disclaimers, which is like the body of the engagement letter that they don't even have to read if they don't want to. By the way, please input your checking account or your credit card information before you sign, and then it pops up the button signature once they've done that. So it's super easy. They can do it on their phones. It's easy to navigate. The cool thing too is we service a lot of service businesses and a lot of e-commerce. We also service a lot of smaller industries, but those tend to be our big chunks. So we've created templated 3 tiers. So if, Mandy on my team is preparing a new engagement letter for a client before the call, we will drag and drop the template for e-commerce clients. It pre-populates everything. And then we just have to like move a service in or out, but then it's done. So it's really convenient. We don't have to like reinvent, the wheel every time. Take the time to test things, even though I had no time. It would have cost us so much. Like it cost me more time to like implement monday.com as our like entire client management and project management tool to scratch it out like a year and a half in. That conversion was so painful and timely. Same thing, like we did well. We did start with Ignition, but we had other mishaps along the way. Like we're like, we need an IT department. Let's work with this outsource, and it was a nightmare. Or like it was just all those things of like taking the time to really test it on one client or maybe 2 before you like throw everyone in it.
Between marketing, sales, HR, customer success, like if I could have done that all sooner rather than later, yes, I totally would have. It was too late. I think I would have done it with 10 employees for sure.
Okay.
Because with 10 employees, you start, there's ambiguity, there's uncertainty. Employees want to know what was the engagement agreement, and you become the filter for everything. And that's not healthy for your employees. That's not healthy for your customers. It's not healthy for you. I'm a big believer in like segregation of duties, right? And as you're growing, I think everybody's job just becomes more and more discrete.
Thanks again to Dan and Marie. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day today.